A woman in her mid-40s weighs her chicken breast to the gram. She logs it. She's under her calorie target, the same target that took 20 pounds off her in her 20s. She runs 4 times a week now, more than she ever did before. And the scale hasn't moved in 4 months. Here's the part almost nobody explains properly. It's not that she's lying to herself. It's not that she's secretly eating more than she thinks. The equation she's using, the one that worked for 20 years, is measuring the wrong thing now. Something underneath it has changed shape, and by the end of this, you'll understand exactly what. Because the real answer surprised even the scientists who found it. Your metabolism slows down after 40. It's said so often, by doctors, by trainers, by well-meaning relatives, that it's basically treated as settled fact. The story goes like this. Somewhere around midlife, your internal engine quietly throttles down, and the same food and the same workouts simply produce less. It's a tidy explanation. It's also, according to the largest metabolic study ever conducted on humans, not quite what happens. In 2021, a team led by researcher Herman Poncer measured the actual daily energy burn of over 6,400 people, ages 8 days to 95, across 29 countries, using one of the most precise methods available. And they found something almost nobody expected. Total energy expenditure remains essentially stable through adulthood, from 20 all the way to 60. Not a slow slide starting at 40, a flat line. The real decline doesn't meaningfully begin until around age 60. So, if that's true, why does the same deficit that worked at 30 stop working at 45? The honest answer is that 4 other things are quietly shifting at once, and the calorie counter never sees any of them. Muscle is metabolically expensive tissue. It burns calories even while you sleep, and starting in your 30s, you begin losing it, quietly, before you'd notice anything on a scale. Research on this puts the rate at roughly 3 to 8% of muscle mass lost per decade after 30, and some studies suggest it's already measurable in your 40s. 2 people can weigh exactly the same number on a scale and need meaningfully different amounts of food, because one of them is carrying more of that expensive tissue than the other. There's a second shift, one most people have never heard of. It's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's every bit of movement that isn't a workout. Fidgeting, pacing, taking the stairs, the small restlessness of being younger. This unconscious movement can burn far more across a day than a single workout session does. And it quietly declines with age, with fatigue, with a body asking for more recovery than it used to. Nobody logs it, it just disappears. Alongside the muscle and the movement, the hormonal landscape itself is repricing how the body handles food. In women, declining estrogen is linked with a slower metabolic rate and a shift in where fat tends to settle. In men, testosterone declines gradually from the mid-30s onward, and lower testosterone is associated with more abdominal fat and increased insulin resistance, meaning cells respond less efficiently to the signal to use glucose as fuel, and more of it tends to get stored instead. And here's the shift that almost never makes it into these conversations. If someone has spent 15 or 20 years cycling through diets, losing weight, regaining it, losing it again, their body may be carrying the metabolic residue of all of that history. One well-known study followed contestants from a televised weight loss competition and found that even 6 years later, their resting metabolic rate remained suppressed, running roughly 500 calories a day lower than expected for their body composition and age. This is worth sitting with. It's not that the body is broken or working against someone out of spite. It's that a body with a long history of aggressive restriction has learned, at a physiological level, to defend its energy stores more tightly. None of these 4 shifts is dramatic on its own. Stack them together, a little less muscle, a little less unconscious movement, a hormonal environment nudging toward fat storage, and possibly years of metabolic adaptation, and the combined effect can look, from the outside, exactly like My metabolism broke at 40. It didn't break. It got outnumbered. This is also the gap in most standard medical care. A routine annual physical rarely maps body composition, rarely looks at movement patterns, and often treats normal blood work as the end of the conversation, rather than the start of one. More extensive blood work, not just a standard annual panel, can offer a clearer picture for some people, worth knowing about. What counts as normal on a lab report is a population average. It's a starting point, not a ceiling. None of this means a calorie deficit stops mattering after 40. It still governs weight change. What it means is that the deficit needs to account for a body that has genuinely changed shape underneath the surface. Research consistently points to resistance training, 2 to 3 sessions a week, as one of the most effective ways to preserve the muscle that keeps the resting engine running. Adequate protein at each meal helps too. And for anyone curious what their diet actually contains beyond calories, an app like Chronometer, which tracks around 84 nutrients, can be a useful way to see where the gaps are rather than guessing. Worth remembering, the RDA on a label is generally the floor to prevent deficiency, not necessarily a target for feeling your best. Sleep and stress matter more than they get credit for here too, since both push in the same direction. More fat storage, less energy for movement, a harder time holding on to muscle. And that background movement from earlier is worth rebuilding on purpose, not as another workout to dread, but as the quiet activity a younger body used to do without thinking. None of this is a reason to eat less or push harder. If anything, it's the opposite. The old approach wasn't a failure of willpower, it was measuring against a body that had already moved on to a different set of rules. Take what's useful here and leave what isn't. The body at 40 isn't working against anyone, it's just running on updated information. And now, so are you. If this helped make sense of something that's been frustrating you, save it for later and drop a comment with what you'd want explained next.